Sounds typical of the Elasians. The scientists who made the initial investigation reported the men were vicious and arrogant.
Oh, that's just the negative part, Mr. Spock. I've been over those records. Now, the women, they're supposed to be something very special. They're supposed to have a kind of a subtle, mystical power that drives men wild.
Ambassador, I think it's time you told me what's going on.
That creature, Elaan, is to be the wife of our ruler, to bring peace. Our two warring planets now possess the capability of mutual destruction. Some method of coexistence must be found.
I did not give you permission to leave.
I didn't ask for any.
Why are men so overwhelmingly attracted to them? I mean, what magic do they possess?
It's not magic. It's biochemical. A man whose flesh is once touched by the tears of a woman of Elas has his heart enslaved forever.
Mr. Spock, the women on your planet are logical. That's the only planet in this galaxy that can make that claim.
Captain, that ancient Earth cosm calls pinking. What is it?
It's,
Captain, are you all right? Did she cry, Jim?
What?
Did she cry? Did her tears touch you at any time?
There is no antidote to the poison of Elasian tears. The men of Elas have tried desperately for centuries to dispel its power. You're wasting your time, Doctor.
It is my time to waste, Ambassador.
This is Captain James Kirk of the USS Enterprise on Federation business. Our mission is peaceful, but we're not prepared to accept any interference.
Enterprise, prepare to be boarded or destroyed.
What is this, Scotty?
The antimatter pods are rigged to blow up the moment we go into warp drive.
Common stones. Now I see why the Klingons are interested in the system. May I have this?
If I can be of any help, of course.
You may have just saved our lives. Mr. Spock, do you think Scotty could make use of dilithium crystals?
No doubt, Captain.
Scotch, Captain. It's in place, sir. But I can't answer for what happens.
Chekhov? Photon torpedoes, fire.
Aye, sir.
Directed amidships by photon torpedo.
Energize.
Too late, Doctor. The captain has found his own antidote.
Are you out of your Vulcan mind? Do you know how long I've worked on that?
The antidote to a woman of Elas, Doctor, is a starship. The Enterprise infected the captain long before the Dolmen did.
Mr. Sulu, prepare to take us out of orbit.
This broadcast is intended for a mature audience, so that I can swear.
You're listening to The Red Hour, a Star Trek podcast with Rusi Often Wrong Kapadia
And Colin Harcourt Fenton Mudd Campbell.
Hello.
And we are live.
So who wants to start with the awkward pauses? Should I start? Who talks first? So, welcome to the Red Hour.
Yeah. So, Campbell, which episode did we both watch?
So, we just did the Elaan of Troyius. And, it's always one of the first season ones that I kind of just grit my teeth and just had to power through. But what about you? What was your impression going in? Your expectation?
my expectation was exactly met, which was that this is definitely not one of my favorite episodes, not one of my preferred episodes, but it's like bringing us out of the little dip we've been in terms of quality.
Is it really? Okay, all right.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. No, I'm not gonna. I'm not here to argue with you.
I can't remember. What was the last one we did?
Was that the Empath or shit?
Oh yeah, it could have been the Empath.
I don't know, man. They all just blur. I don't. It's like I don't know what's going on.
Okay, fine. But anyway, but this one is like the beginning of like coming back.
Is it? Okay, all right. I mean, assuming I don't know. Presumably, it's not like building all the way to the absolute cream of the crop and ending with like Turnabout Intruder. But I'll trust your judgment and hope that the
Turnabout Intruder is good.
Really? Okay.
Yes, and then the All Our Yesterdays is good. The Savage Curtain is good.
We get there. I do like. Yeah. I do like Savage Curtain, despite how silly it is.
It's not silly, Campbell.
I guess we should do a recap. So in the Elaan of Troyius, they're called to a particular planet in the star system to pick up a diplomat, a delegate, and then they're sent to the other planet. And it's kind of dumb the way they're like, we're briefed about the information because there's like radio silence, so we don't know everything, but we have some details. Bones and Spock apparently read the brief, but not Kirk apparently. They have to go to the other planet and pick up this dignitary called the Dolman, the Dolman Elaan, I guess. The Dolman Elaan, or her name is Elaan. Anyway, and she's like the matriarch of that society, and she's going to be basically offered as a bride to the ruler of the other planet, I guess, so as to make peace and bring them together because previously they've been warring, and the whole episode is basically ostensibly trying to get her to the other planet, a very short distance, but they have to drag their feet to stretch it out because there's a process to it, and the process is they have to like. How would you describe it, Rusi? They have to civilize. They have to socialize the ruler, the Dolman, because she has to marry.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's cultural problems abound, and yada yada yada. Kirk gets briefly touched with her tears, which contain a powerful chemical which makes him fall in love with her. And then they have to fend off an attack from the Klingons. And and that's what basically happens. But so what's how do you want to start? Did you enjoy this episode? Do you like this episode? What do you?
Yeah, there were definitely parts of the episode I liked. I thought like it was a good ensemble. Everyone played a little role. Yeah.
I mean,
Scotty,
true.
Spock, even Uhura shows up. Dr. McCoy. Everybody plays a little role. It was good. I mean, there was some good Kirk moments, and there was some action. So yeah, it had elements that made it a decent episode. I mean, the parts of it that made it less good. I mean, obviously, I'm not into the whole. Love story, such as it was between, Elaan of Troyius.
That's like,
yeah.
No, not even because of. I mean, not even because it like, because it represents like a conflict with Kirk or whatever. I mean, surely that should be like, that was like, that didn't, the fact that basically is like his love for the ship was challenged basically. Like it had to assert itself, and he basically had to like. I guess we should explain it. So it's like the Dolman comes off as basically like a kind of a super spoiled, violent, autocratic sort of rich kid ruler of this planet. This clearly a warrior like race. That also have like serious, what would you call it, like superiority issues, and like claim that the other planet in their system is like completely subhuman, a relative term, and like they're just like complete, like they're not even they're not even the same. They're not even
Yeah,
you know,
they were recycling a few ideas here. Like, so it was a little bit like Charlie X in that Kirk had to like train this alien. It was a little bit like the Journey to Babel, in that they had a journey with some diplomats and they got attacked mid-journey. So, and then also the culture that Elaan comes from is, you know, kind of like an echo of Klingons or the dudes from Friday's Child.
Like an exploration of xenosociology, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's some repetition here. There's some mixing and matching of some like other episodes. So yeah, it doesn't score high on the novelty score.
But to me, the mixing and matching isn't the issue, or like being repetitious, or like, you know, recalling past episodes isn't. I mean, to me, the biggest problem is just the fact that, like, I know they try and disguise it and sort of alter the situation so it's not completely analogous. So it's not. They basically alter the context of the situation to make it appear as though it's not what it appears. And to me, what it appears is basically just like, you know, straight up, you know, colonialist exploitation and sexism, you know, and just like the weird, you know, the complete, you know, like because first of all, you know, there's you know, they make a lot of sort of cultural reasons for it, and try to sort of, you know, they do their usual thing of like judging everyone by human standards and looking at a culture that, you know, that does things differently as being like somehow inferior or less progressive, or, you know, and, you know, or barbaric, you know. And Kirk's like, you know, I guess he buys into the popular mindset that in this region that those guys are, you know, the planet Elaan are just out of control, you know. But how it comes off is just like the problem that the episode faces. Its challenge is kind of the same one as with the Medusan, you know. It's like the problem is a woman and her free will, you know. And how is that problem to be? How is a problem? How do you solve a problem like Maria, you know? And that's like the basic core of the problem, you know. And through that, you see a lot of like the ideas of like, you know, sort of, you know, mental colonialism. The idea that, like, you know, their way is apparently right, and you just have to impress your particular societal values on them to make them conform, and to, you know.
Campbell, stop. No. If you want to be like lazy and
that's what I see. Like, what you want me to see something else or more or less or different?
Well, yeah. I mean, a cursory pass, you could say like, oh, you know, it's like sexist and you know. And he called a woman of color savage or uncivilized or whatever.
I mean, yep, these are all true. Good point. Thank you.
No. Those are lazy.
But those are the true observations, and there's no real redoing it because
those are happenstance.
But that's the content, the meat of the episode, you know. And there's so many ways they could get around it, you know. And there's so many ways that they could avoid, you know, this being like a straight up like you know, just pure sexism situation. But what they appear to say, you know, basically the men talking amongst themselves about the problem, which is the Elaan, you know, is that you know, it's like they
Campbell, like you know, in terms of like interpreting, you know, what they intended.
No, I don't have to interpret. They say it. They tell us, and they're talking about, you know, it's like when they stun the guys to get access to the room, and Spock's like, I have no idea how you knew they were going to do that. And or how you, and he says, you know what her reaction would be, and he says, you know, it's like on your planet, Spock, the females are logical. That's the only planet in the, you know, the galaxy where that can be said. And I see what he was saying, and I don't think there's any really way to misinterpret that, you know. And it's a broad statement about females of every species, in the universe.
That could have been.
So how do you interpret that?
Well, if that had been on an episode of like Seinfeld or Friends or whatever, it would just be a joke, and everyone would be like, "Oh, he's saying you know, women are irrational or whatever." It's not like I don't think it would be taken like, you know, necessarily as like you know, indication that they're like sexist or they're trying to
really, because that's pretty much how I took it. I don't know how you can, you know, get that the same data that I'm getting and have a different takeaway, or like how how to excuse that.
Well, I mean, sort of by a certain reading. I mean, all of like, you know, humor about the interplay between the sexes could be interpreted as sexist.
And for the most part, it is, right?
Humor. So you're basically saying any humor.
Well, no, because I mean, all of the instances I can think of in the original series, at least, where they even touch on it, the touch on being being a woman, or the distinction between men and women. It's pretty much always, from the first episode on, as like, the idea that the Federation is like an egalitarian cultural, sort of idea, but somehow within that, women still don't command equal respect and don't command equal authority necessarily. There has to be some kind of allowances made for them. That even Christopher Pike is like talking about, like he doesn't think women belong on the bridge, and like so it's like so they wanted they clearly wanted to push the idea of everyone being equal, but they still really hadn't worked out all the kinks of what that meant. And I think this episode is clearly obvious because they're if I was in that writer's room, I would have suggested different ways to do it, and because ultimately, mainly my main thing with the issue is like they tried to do some interesting things, but it failed, and we know it failed because we see another episode that tried to do a lot of the same things, did a much better job. The episode where Picard gets gifted Famke Janssen. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that, and I remember that episode being freaking boring. Like,
no, that was awesome. It was a way better exploration of a lot of the same themes. Same thing happened.
Well, it was a copycat episode of a mediocre TOS episode.
You mean the one we just watched?
Yes.
Anyway, so it was way better done. It was way better done.
No, it was not. It was a little bit slicker because
the duty, the first.
I don't know, but Campbell, it was like almost the identical.
No, it was totally different. But it had some similar themes in it, and one of them was you basically
she was like a gift to somebody, and she instead bonded to the captain, just like
instead of her falling in love with her, it was like her falling in love with Picard. Although one assumes that Picard isn't made of like stone. If he is, it's probably not like super hard stone. It'd be soft.
No, but then at the end she decides to do her duty. The only difference is that there's no kick-ass.
The only difference is in TNG it was a good episode. It was fucking decent, and you could feel the emotion. Oh, it was so much better done.
No, Campbell, no.
But I do take it back because I do think the only good thing about the episode was Frances Newey, because I think she did an awesome job, and I think despite like the lackluster like writing, and even like the dialogue that they're given, it's like I really don't think there's anything good about it, but every single thing that she delivers is it's just on. I thought like she had, it's like sometimes it's like little tricks, right? I don't know about you, but I find the eating thing really works. And like if you're just eating while acting, while delivering dialogue, it sounds so fucking naturalistic, whatever you want to call it, like the fucking Ocean's 11 technique. But like I just thought her acting was like so much more believable and naturalistic than any of the crew, even like fucking Kirk and Spock. What about you?
Okay, fine. Okay, so you're liking that about the episode. You thought the actress was pretty good.
I thought her acting was awesome, yeah. And it's like, just like, because I totally bought her and believed it, and her sort of emotional conflict or whatever, And and I appreciated the awkwardness of what they were trying to do, of like trying to depict the very tail end of the episode, the idea of Kirk, like, chemically falling in love because of this love potion distilled in her tears, but she like, wipes on him kind of thing, for the sake of, I guess, what she wanted to. Well, I guess she wanted to like basically marry him and take over the ship and use that ship and basically take over the whole, solar system and be like, it wasn't a super well thought out plan, but she wanted to be like.
Yeah, she wanted him to commit genocide, and actually.
Genocide. That's true. We shouldn't ignore the genocide.
Yeah, and impressively, Kirk said like, "Who would think of such a thing?" Which I like because it seemed for a moment that he was just going to like brush it off. And she'd be like, sweetie, I can't, commit genocide. It wouldn't be right, kind of thing. Instead, he's sort of like, what the fuck? Which is good. So basically, like my whole beef with the episode is just that it's too lighthearted. It's that they don't feel like there's any major stakes in it. There's no intensity. It just seems like
not enough people die, basically, right?
Not enough people die. It's too casual. Kirk is not as intense as he normally is. He's relaxed.
The latter half of the episode is, by the way, completely different from the first half and doesn't seem to relate in any way to one to the other, except for a brief moment where they grab their necklace or what have you. But that was pretty intense. They had the ship was gonna die. They were being attacked.
The ship was totally almost gonna die.
And it was full on space combat. Tactics. Stay on them. The
Red alert.
Power, sir. Yeah, it was that latter half was high stakes. You didn't give a shit at all about the first plot, the A plot, if you will. But the B plot was exciting.
And don't get me wrong, I fell asleep for both parts, and that's why I had to go back and rewatch it 5-6 times just to keep my eyes open throughout the whole episode. And even then, I nodded off and would wake up for let that be your battlefield or whatever. But anyway.
Okay, fine. Anyway, I mean, Phil, you're right. It definitely, the tempo picked up, and they did have a sort of a potential destruction on the horizon. But I just didn't feel like it was any of the main crew were sort of playing it as really fucking important. They sort of they had a problem. They were sort of just keep on this course for a while. Maybe he won't attack us and stuff like that. They were not, Kirk was sort of almost lackadaisical about it. And when they.
Well, that's because he was under the effects of the drug. I don't need to rationalize.
Who cares about living or dying when you're in love?
Yeah. But it was not
you don't understand, Rizzy.
There was no.
You've never been.
Anyway, it was not
in false chemical love.
It was not like one of the other episodes where he was gripping the hand, the sides of his chair because he was under so much stress. Here he was just sort of let's try this and let's see if they destroy us. Let's try this and see if they destroy us.
Well, Rizzy, I mean, I think I feel weird arguing this, but I think you could say that he was under a lot of stress, but he was just dealing with it differently. But I think that I think it's clear that one of the stresses he wasn't under was the Klingons. It's true that I don't think he cared much about the Klingons. At that point, his main concern was just just the shit that was going on inside his head, right? Because the moment he became infected with her tears, he sensed that something was wrong, and he sensed that he was something was off, and that he was losing control of his his will, of his faculties, right? But
anyway, I just felt there's so many episodes where Kirk is intense. He makes you feel the sort of fear or the immediacy of the problem. But in this one, he doesn't. It's sort of halfway between a comedy episode Trouble with Tribbles and a good episode Spectre of the Gun. Where he's really fucking even though they're in a fantasy land, you feel the danger is very real. So and he's he's shaking people, and he's like get us out of here and stuff, Anyway, but this one they took all that edge off. So that was my main. The
drama was better conveyed in other episodes.
Yeah, it was pseudo. It was a get to know Captain Kirk episode, which the get to know Captain Picard episodes with women, they sucked. Remember when he was bonded to Beverly? That episode sucked.
I like that episode. We have. Well,
no. And even the Vash episodes, when you rewatch them, you're oh, okay, Vash, she's a pretty good character, and it's a good actress. The actual Picard scenes, you're sort of it's not good writing. It's not believable or something that would make you care
Vash
in terms of those
amazing.
relations.
It's the Q story though with the married.
I agree with Phil.
Although the line "I am not a married man" will forever be.
Oh yeah, and that episode is weird because it contains. It contains some good stuff, and him breaking the thing. But it's
But anyway, there was no way when you're watching that you're sort of oh, there's so much chemistry between Picard and Vash. There was none.
No, but that's not. But Rizzy, you're missing the whole point, which is that there was never supposed to be chemistry because the whole point was Picard is awkward around women in love because his first duty is always.
Oh, I know. But if you're gonna say
that was the point.
Yeah, fine. But if you're gonna have an episode about it, make some rationale behind it. Anyway, they just didn't do it.
The rationale is simple. Vash saw Jean-Luc Picard with his chest exposed.
I know.
Adventure,
and she did just what you would do.
What? Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
I'm just telling you
totally
these
rational.
get to know. I'm just telling you these get to know Kirk, get to know Picard episodes. They floundered. They failed.
I gave you state that that's your opinion, and I respectfully disagree and call you a lame one. But anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, fine. I mean, just the fact that we don't even know
Can we come up with good get to know Picard's episodes, Brothers?
Yes,
that was a good episode, right?
Brothers, and also the episode where he's getting tortured by the Cardassian.
Also, those amazing episodes.
And I'm on the record being a big supporter of torture.
But you're also into character development. That's why you'll have Deep Space Nine, the evolving characters. So like any
Yes,
episode that
however,
explores
Phil-
the characters is the better
Phil-
episode, right?
Phil. When we were sitting there watching fucking like hours and hours of DS9 instead of going to class.
Careful.
we
I don't like when he says "we." Do you?
No,
I don't know.
He's entirely
hey,
right.
this was
I remember those days. We did that.
Yes,
I
yes,
would
like
I know.
record, like on VHS a week's worth of Deep Space Nine, and then I would go to your place and we would just watch it for hours.
I know, but
Yes.
the thing is, I know that,
Your
and he
roommate
knows
thought
that,
we
and
were
he's taking
losers.
advantage.
And
He's
they were
taking
right.
advantage of the fact that you both bonded over Deep Space Nine, and he's going to try and piggyback his values on top of that and get you to basically, by proxy, agree with him by saying, "Remember that time? Remember the time we watched
We
Deep Space
already
Nine?"
agree that
No, but-
the character episodes are the best episodes.
Because we're brothers.
No, but Phil,
Yes.
Phil, you see, but Phil, like I've been recently rewatching DS9, and like there's the stretch from like, shut up, Campbell. There's a stretch from like beginning of season 4 to midway season 5 where there's like 30 episodes that are good. So I was just sort of like, I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. I can't wait. Like I'm just gonna like eat through all of this. But there are like half of season 7 is unbearably shitty.
No, season 7.
It's like really fucking bad, and it's because they have all those episodes about the relationship between Odo and Kira, and the relationship between Ezri and whoever the fuck, Anyway,
But
those episodes.
But the episodes.
I
of,
agree about the
relationship
whoever the fuck.
episodes of Jadzia and Worf though were good.
Yeah, those were good. Nobody liked the Kira Odo stuff. That's on the record as being appalling. That nobody agrees with.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So yes, Phil,
But
it
anyway,
is possible.
back to the television show. Back to the decade that we were talking about.
That's still
But
7 years down the run before we review Deep Space Nine. We have all of the animated series, TNG. It's gonna be nuts.
I'm looking forward to it.
But
And the
anyway,
movies.
And the movies.
Yeah, but anyway, so yes, it can be done well. And like, the episode where Kirk falls in love with Edith Keeler, obviously that's an awesome romance, and I'm 100% behind it. And it's a good development for Kirk. But this one fucking was not. So let's go through it, point by point for Campbell.
Okay.
Go through it point by point, things we like, things we didn't like, and then we can do global thoughts. All right.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you start.
I like the fashion. I liked.
You like those stupid mini skirts that the dude's wearing?
Not specifically the miniskirts. I didn't mind them because whatever. If they're good enough for the fucking Roman army, I liked the bits of transparent plastic. They were just like stuck to the outside. I think that was like a bit forward thinking, actually. A bit.
And they had those triangles.
Those, that would definitely be like haute couture for like the next 20 years, I think. And I didn't mind her get up either, Francis Nguyen. Shit, what's it?
So you know how like they had that first episode with Uhura kissing Kirk. So this is only a few episodes later, and they got him kissing another woman of color. Did this make any waves, Campbell? IMDb?
Oh shit! You know what? I forget if I even finished getting through.
Because in this case, although actually,
I think you're right.
That's why they put the whole thing. Because like, remember when he kissed Uhura, it was because he was compelled to, or they were compelled to kiss by another
so what
force.
are you saying?
I'm saying that's how they may have gotten around, people who would be upset. And
well, I think that's definitely one of the things they tried to use to kind of mitigate that, to kind of get around. So yeah,
the biochemical thing is the same thing.
Yeah, the biochemical thing.
It's a bit of a cheat. Yeah, because basically it's the Star Trek is all about trying to get Kirk to do stuff he doesn't want to do, like kiss women, because he's really not into that. That's his reputation, but really he's very much just I'm mainly interested in the ship. That's where my interest ends. And okay, fine, I'll kiss you, but only if I have to.
He likes to touch himself while thinking of warp drives. He's not interested in women that way. I get it.
But it's just yeah.
I do like this pulpy kind of sort of aspect of Star Trek where it's just like filling in some sort of male fantasy. Because sci-fi is like a good setting for that kind of thing, where you go to the planet of the nymphomaniacs or whatever. And in this one, they had a bit of that because it's like an alien, and she makes you fall in love with like some as what did McCoy call it, a super love potion.
Yeah, which we
that was his medical definition.
That was not the most.
Wait,
it did sound
you had to refer to your notes to remember that specific thing. Like you remember the most obscure chemical shit, and this one escaped you. Like what is it? It's got super. I've never heard of it before. No, Who says super?
I'm trying to highlight.
Who says super?
How silly it was.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy thing to say. Mega.
Anyway. Mega. But anyway, anyway, so I thought I like that aspect. I like the fact that they tried to put in something there that would, that would be like enticing, on like the cover of like one of those like pulpy sort of sci-fi stories where it's like, no one can resist her, one touch of her tears and she will like, command you kind of thing. And so there's a cool sort of like, fantasy element there.
I mean, if that's what you're into, that's fine. No judgment here.
Wait, Campbell, are you saying like any sort of like element of like male fantasy being in these in Star Trek is no good? Or are you saying
I'm just saying there's a couple of notes that Star Trek plays a lot because the writers and the producers were into that, and they play that note a lot, and they keep finding ways to bring it back.
The demograph of
the demograph, but like why do you? It's like so you're saying more men.
I know it sounds wrong. Demograph.
Well, but you mean demographic in any case, right?
Demographic.
But I mean, but like anyway.
Yeah. No, but Campbell, okay. But just like a meta question here. But like, do you object to men having these fantasies? There being a show where they can fulfill those fantasies?
I see. It was like we just had enough. Of it, it's like from the first episode on, i.e., the Orion slave girl. We had the same kind of thing, like just captivating pheromones or beauty or whatever. That after that you like basically robs men of free will. So it's definitely someone's fantasy, and it shines through a lot. And I don't think we really needed that. And I think the one interesting aspect of it was what they did in the episode, which is like basically they pitted the concept of a love potion against Kirk's love for the ship, right? And it was interesting, right? Like because it is a bit weird because even though Bones finds out about it from Chapel about the physiology, and he tells Kirk after the fact, or informs him. It's like
instead of warning him beforehand.
Yeah, which would have been nice. But it's like so he tells him about its effects, and so Kirk cognitively understands it. And he's like, now like it's like so I see now. So I'm basically like completely head over heels in love with this woman, and I won't be able to like refuse her when she just tells me to do stuff. All right. So I'll just carry on then. So it's like the weird case of like, they know of what they're doing, but yet they can't control themselves nonetheless, And I was curious, just like how that interacted with like his duty to the Enterprise, and the idea that the Enterprise's duty would just like basically override and wear out the other one, and he was basically just like, it's like kind of like.
Well, definitely Spock and Bones were giving him a wide berth, considering that he was like basically chemically incapacitated. But anyway.
Yeah, shouldn't really be command now that you think of it, basically. Although he like we saw, he handled the situation pretty well.
Let me give you my theory. But let me give you my theory on this sort of like feeding like sort of male fantasies, even if they're like sexist or whatever. I think it's okay as long as it's like
as long as they're my
show, you'd want it. No. I was saying if you balance it out, you do. Some female fantasy, some whatever, I mean, there's like, obviously, there's like movies that cater to both. I don't think it's like inherently like, bad.
No, I don't think there's anything inherently bad about expressing that kind of thing. But it's like, like I said, it's just kind of repetitious at this point. And kind of, but like we were saying, it's not, this isn't even the third or fourth, fifth time they've used it in the original series, because they had Mudd's women as well, which is like, wait, Mudd's, yeah. Anyway, again, same kind of stuff. It's like mind-altering, beauty of like, women that render powerless, men's renders men's. And you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about.
All right, fine. Okay, let me go through my minor points.
All right. Well, you do that. Yeah, stretch it out, and I'll keep powering through the trivia. La 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 la.
Okay, fine. I don't have many points. There were only a few things that like sort of caught my eye that I liked. The thing that made me laugh though was when Elaan of Troyius' bodyguard was like trying to like sabotage the engineering, and some guy came up behind him and was like, "You there? What are you doing?" And he stands up and he just touches his face, and the guy just starts drooling like this. And like, what was that? It was sort of like he just sort of like touched his cheeks, and the guy was like dead.
Yeah,
I know later on that he said that his like neck had been snapped, but it just sort of like the way the guy acted it. He just sort of like the guy just touched his face and he just goes and just like starts drooling, which I thought was kind of silly.
Was that in the you like column or you don't like?
Just the I noticed column. I was amused by it.
Amused.
Okay, actually, the costumes they were so garish and silly. They look like Wizard of Oz costumes. They look like they belong in a kids movie. So I'm going to deduct 1 point for that. I noticed.
Wait, when did we develop this point system? How many points is the win? What exactly is going on here?
Anyway, so okay, then I noticed because we were talking about it just the other day, how few instances there are with evidence that Kirk actually slept with a woman on the show. Because
yes, that's a good. I'm glad you mentioned that because I dropped.
But it is true because this one I've forgotten or never knew or never paid attention to. But he talks about he's like forget what happened. What happened was an accident.
Yeah,
so he could have just been talking about.
He was explicitly understood what he's talking about, and the reason why they did that is because they were allowed only very strict things what they could allude to on television.
Yeah, and they'd already established that he had to teach her spanking. So
yes, I thought that was
going to happen.
I thought that was I thought that was very risque for that era.
Full disclosure, we don't know for sure if he instructed her on spanking. That was not included. It was just.
She didn't sit down for the rest of the episode. That's all I'm saying.
But in any case,
she does not sit after that.
I did.
But in any case, but that does make the show a little bit more adult than probably Campbell, you and I remember, right?
Wait, what does?
The sort of like sexual innuendo there.
I mean, it's I only look at it from a strictly academic perspective because, like, just knowing what I know now about censors and politics at the time, and so for me, it's fascinating because when you think about it, I'm like 100% that episode would have been something that would have been scrutinized a lot by the networks, and we know because of the previous points similar that they brought up in the past. But it was like it was very, very subtly and tastefully done, like what they like the way they had like they constructed a sex scene without actually showing any of the actual sex scene, but it was completely established.
Right, there's no way to misconstrue what they were talking about when they were talking about a spanking, and when he sort of like knowingly said, "I'll tell you later." So Campbell, smart guy.
Yeah. What?
Hey, question for you: is there any other instance in Star Trek as explicit reference to sex? I'm going to say no.
We were talking about this before, and there is, but I can't remember what it is. But then again, I can't. I mean, maybe we were talking about this episode, so I can't.
Again, and like all my references are going to be to Deep Space Nine because I'm watching it at the moment.
Again, but that's no help. That's no help to anyone who's
there are definitely references to Umox.
Again, no help. But let's keep it.
There's Riker with that when he goes to that alien planet and satisfies that woman's desire for having sex with an alien. But again, it's all like,
also no help.
It's all tasteful. Like this is the most explicit I think that they've been in all of Star Trek.
Really? No, that's no.
Soak it in. Soak it in.
Hey, I mean all of Star Trek.
In all of Star Trek?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, have you watched any of the new shows? I haven't, but I assume they're filled with sex. And Enterprise had the whole
gel application.
The gel application.
But that's supposed to be sexual, but it was sexual.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was.
That's sexual in like a Baywatch kind of way, but it's different than having two people discuss, spanking in a sexual context.
Which they did not, by the way. They just basically said they would, and they alluded to a potentially euphemistic conversation later on.
It was more he mentioned it as punishment.
No,
she wanted to know more.
Punishment. Sorry.
Okay, fine. Anyway, so let me go through the other things. Okay, right, so I thought it was silly that all the humans didn't bow until she sort of like stood there kind of like irritated. They bowed.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Silly. Like what kind
of what's your reasoning for that? What was the trigger, the threshold that was reached in Kirk's mind before he determined that I guess maybe we should? Was it because that she was a woman? Was it because that she was an attractive woman? Was it because she was looking scornfully? Or was it because she was just standing there and not doing anything? And everyone was like kind of weirded out and made it awkward. Something like, well, I guess we might as well. What was your read on that?
Yeah, that he was sort of they were like Kirk in the whole episode was being a little bit condescending, just being like,
yeah,
you silly child. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, so I liked in general Kirk's sort of just like the way his character like handled this situation, which was similar to how he handled like Charlie X or And the Children Shall Lead, where he has a mission and all he cares about, he's just so fucking focused on the mission. I mentioned it like so many times, where she's like, aren't you going to destroy that Klingon ship? And he's like, if the mission will benefit from me, like turning and running like a coward, I'll do it. All throughout the episode, he's just talking about how like all that matters is the mission and duty. And he keeps talking about her mission, his mission. I liked it. It was like really like staying on character, and I like the fact that sort of like Kirk's, particular idiosyncrasies can be used for like whatever the mission is. It doesn't really matter. So in like this case, the mission was, train somebody who was acting like a child, and he's sort of like, all right, I guess I'll do my best. He just does his fucking job, and that's what I like also. Just like our former boss Campbell, he kept on telling her to just that diplomat. He's like, just do your job. He kept on saying like, he's like, no one's asking you to like her, just do your job.
Are you talking about Bob? I forget.
When he's in the hospital. Yeah, I'm talking about Bob. But I just love the fact that he's always like, just do your fucking job. I like that.
Fair enough.
I like these sort of like pseudo moments of racism that like, in particular, Scotty shows. But sometimes, in fact, he's done this in other episodes. I can't reference at the moment. But when he's like annoyed at them like coming into engineering, he's like, sir, there are some persons here, and he, it's like he's going to say like some colored people.
Jesus Christ, was he? It's true. He did a good job of like doing that. I want to say like uniquely British thing of like saying super politely there's unsavory people there,
Yeah. I mean, Kirk was good, and he was good. The problem was he just wasn't serious the whole episode. But like, little things, like for instance, like when she started like causing a havoc and like flipping out. At one point, he's like called down to see her, kind of thing, and he does like a 2 move. He just like shrugs like this to Spock, and he points to the chairs and like, I gotta go, you take over. I just like it because I love any stuff like that. I know it's small. I know it seems trite.
You like the tiny social idiosyncrasies that speak to deeper bond.
I like things, and I mentioned it before. I like things that show that they have like a really almost a routine as in terms of their relationship with the other people, like in the crew and stuff like that. I love that. It's your Campbell thing of saying, "Don't tell me, show me."
Yeah.
I like it. Like don't tell me these guys have been friends for 40 fucking years. Like show me like this.
Yeah.
So that was good. I found it a little bit emasculating that every single fucking dude on this episode was taller than Kirk. It's never seemed so noticeable.
I'm sorry, repeat?
But it's like they're all like towering over him.
Oh, you're talking about the height. You're talking about the Elat's personal guard being all being such like massive tan beefcakes.
Yeah.
But that was good, right? It was like
part of me
just made you feel.
Part of me was sort of like, what? Yeah, part of it was like, how did Kirk? How did Shatner land this role as a leading man to begin with if he's so goddamn short?
Geez, sorry, Rizzy, I don't know. You got a lot of you got a lot of hate against short people.
He's like a pretty, no, but he's like a pretty boy. It's just I don't know, it's just odd. Oh, I do like another little mini Kirk thing. I guess I just love all the little Kirk things. But another thing is when he's like banging on the door and trying to get into her quarters, one of her guards like touches him and he just sort of like flinches and like is like ready to like punch him. I love him. I like that. Yeah, and they did do one line that was like a Roddenberry-esque line, amidst what Campbell would call all the misogyny.
Go on.
But he was explaining to her, he was like, yeah, it's been my experience that when you're around people who are different from you, these prejudices disappear, which is good because at some point like Kirk has to show that he's Starfleet.
Do you think? I'm sort of rereading it in my head now, but do you think that was the kind of thing that was like directed towards her, but actually like him talking about himself as well? You know, like a kind of sort of pseudo crypto self-reflective moment, kind of like the few that were snuck into Star Trek VI when he actually does admit his like deep prejudicial hatred of Klingons and stuff like that.
It's crypto fascist.
No. No, I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and so I also just in general, I like the fact that Kirk was such a hard man in the episode. So like, you know, he felt no pity for Elaan. Like, so when he came in, he was like, my mission is to take this woman. Hold on. He's like, my mission is to take this woman who's being, you know, sold like cattle and prepare her for her next role. You know, he at no point, you know, like Picard is sort of not into the fact that this, you know, that she has no choice in it and she's just being like sold along kind of thing. Whereas Kirk is sort of like, listen, she has a duty and I have a duty. I don't give a shit about her as a person. So I like the fact that he was a hard man, and he was such a hard man. I almost felt bad for like Elaan of Troyius, that brat.
That's good. I think that's actually the point of the episode.
Yeah, because at the end, she extends the olive branch to Kirk many times. You know, just being nice around him, and then she's sort of like, when she leaves, she's like, you know, like I have to do. I don't have any choices, only like duty and responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. And now that you see that Oliver acting out, it's just an expression of her own impotence.
Yeah. And then she sort of does like her puppy dog eyes thing, and then Kirk is just sort of like unmoved. He's like
magical puppy dog eyes.
Yeah, and then she's, you know, she wants him to say, and she's told him like she loves him like multiple times, and she just wants him to say something nice back to her, and then she's like, and so finally she like goes to the extent of like asking him to say something nice back. She's like, don't forget me, kind of thing. He's like, I don't have a choice, you know, not even like I won't. He could have just made her happy, but he's just sort of like, you know, fuck you for poisoning me.
It's true. Like, it did have a very fuck you vibe. I like that. It was like, it was a good line.
Get off my fucking ship, you know.
I mean, it's
so, my life is hell now. Thanks.
It's pretty rapey, right? Like what she did to him.
No. Oh, I mean, yes. Yeah. No, it is true.
So,
Phil's right.
Like, why would why would she feel any sympathy? He's like, well, fuck you for raping me over and over again.
No, yeah, absolutely.
That sucks,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true, actually. I mean, but he's a hard man, is still the point. Like, he's unmoved completely.
Yeah.
Damn, I really should pee first. Is that the end of your notes, Susan?
Minor things. And this is more of a call-in character, but she said how she was going to stay in that closet for 10 light years, which is a measure of distance.
So, but it still could have implied, although it clearly didn't because they're within. All right, fair enough. Yeah, you're right.
I didn't like the fact that Kirk was sort of like, you know, that prisoner they got who was going to try to sabotage the ship. He's like, he may be resistant to, you know, questioning and this and that, but not to like, not to a Vulcan mind meld kind of thing. He's like, Spock, get down here. I need you to do that thing you do where you connect to someone's brain.
Yeah.
I just don't like the fact that he's like so like blasé about it. As in like anytime I fucking
it's true. Yeah,
he's gonna like rip down these personal barriers and like do whatever. But the thing I liked,
big ass.
The thing I liked is they had a secondary cast member who played like some red shirt, and he appeared twice, and he apologized to Kirk for not stopping the guy from killing himself. And I like the fact that Kirk like got over it like straight away. You know, remember when that guy he's caught and then he like takes out, he pushes him on the belt and he disappears. Like at first Kirk is like oh shit, and the guy's like, oh sorry Captain, and he's like shut up a second.
That's the
and he's
second
like,
guy disintegrated this week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then the actual combat redeemed that the situation should have had to some degree. And Colin, you know, I always say I love it when Kirk is bellowing out orders. He bellowed out so many during this fight scene. Like during a fight in TNG DS9, it's just sort of like you know, pattern Delta, pattern Omega, bullshit like that. Whereas like sense. Kirk, no, it makes zero fucking sense. It might as well be like pattern. Let the fucking computer do it. This way, Kirk comes up and he's almost caressing Sulu. He's like got one hand on his shoulder and one hand is like right on his arm, and he's just sort of like, okay, bring us up alongside. He's like, now we want to keep our right shields to him because he's going to try and flank us, And I just like the fact that he's getting involved. He's getting it. He's actually making it tangible, the fight, making it more fun. And I like the fact that like they try and maneuver the ship, but it's too slow. And he goes, Sulu! Like as in like, Sulu, you fucking. He's like, sorry, sir. Like we can't move fast enough. Another thing I liked, and we're getting towards the end of my list here,
that's good,
is when Spock it detects the lithium crystals on the bridge. He uses that little sensor. I like the fact that the sensing sound is a tambourine. He just puts it near these stones, and he goes.
It's sensing, but you know what that is, right?
Is that those like maraca type things?
No, well, I mean, I guess I'd have to fucking look it up.
I think it is. Oh no!
But what it is, it's the sound of the aliens from War of the Worlds.
Wow, that is obscure.
That's absolutely not obscure. What the hell? Everyone's seen that movie. Bill, you've seen that movie. Come on, War of the Worlds with the like, not the Tom Cruise one, with the one with the one with like sort of like.
I've seen both versions, and honestly, Tom Cruise's is better.
I can't really.
Anyway, like the fact that the Tom Cruise one, the part that everyone hated, is when he's like underground in this bunker with this dude, and they're like, it drags on for too long. I'm like, no, that's the entirety of the fucking book. The book is not about aliens invading. The book's about a guy becoming a savage while living in a bunker while aliens are doing their thing. And so like doing anything to do with the aliens is against the book entirely. So when Tom Cruise actually concentrated on that part, I was like, oh, fucking right. Like this is actually the book happening for once. So that's a dive. That's right.
And Campbell, he's out geekified and pure geekified you.
Yeah, it's nice work.
Okay. Yeah. So Kirk, yelled out tons of orders. He was like, cut in warp drive, pivot on warp 2.
My top 5 favorite Kirk orders are as follows.
Yeah. No, but he's
hard to port, hard to starboard. Warp 1 followed by warp 2.
All right, fine. Okay, and then
did you say warp or warp?
I meant to say warp. Did I not?
And Campbell, the actress who played Elaan of Troyius, she was actually quite good. I felt almost moved when she was like on the on the transporter because she actually her lip quivered because she was like so sad at leaving.
I think she did a good job. I mean, obviously that would be your takeaway, the fact that you obviously empathize with her having to not be with Kirk.
Okay, and then the last thing I'll say is that Kirk, although I didn't care for it specifically while watching this episode, it did add into the Kirk lore the fact that like his obsession with his ship. When they mentioned the fact that like he'd already been infected by the Enterprise long before he'd been infected by Elaan of Troyius. I just like it because it solidifies and it codifies the myth.
The myth. The reality.
Well, yes, the legend, I should have said. All right, so now, Campbell.
I mean, I think we discussed a wide range of topics. I don't have a bunch to add, which is good because my bladder is about to explode. But yeah, nothing in the trivia as explicitly about this being like the second interracial kiss because nobody's interested in like the second stuff. But
that's awesome though, and that is amazing though because it's a few weeks later. I love that they're sort of like pushing boundaries, and a couple weeks later,
but that wasn't necessarily the air date. Don't forget. I forget even if we're doing by the production date or the air date.
Okay, fine. But Campbell. Either way, even if we're a few weeks out, it's like
but anyway, whatever. But that's just the nature. But she was France Louis. This was. It says it is believed to be the first person of Vietnamese descent to appear on American television, and that's saying something. That's kind of interesting for the time.
Yeah. That is interesting.
And what else? Something about... No, that's not interesting.
One minor point is, when Christine was asking that diplomat about this magic that women from Elanus or whatever have over men.
How it works, yeah.
I thought that was a little bit silly because it sort of like implied that, women, women would be like, oh my God, I must have this like special magic. Yeah. It seemed like that to me a little bit.
It seemed like, sorry, it kind of faded out, or at least
it seemed to me that Christine was sort of like,
she wanted to gain total mastery of men.
Yeah.
I mean, Same. What do you? I mean, what do you? Yeah,
sign me up. Sign me up. I'll do that. No problem.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, fair enough. Okay. So, Campbell, yeah, anything else from IMDb, or is that it?
I mean, basically, it's said the thing about the War of the Worlds, and this is the only episode to actually contain the Bones line, "You're out of your Vulcan mind," which I don't think is super interesting, but apparently it's super, iconic in itself. So it's the only instance.
Really, it's the only time. Because it seems so obvious, it's like such a close, to the word. Just have it said all over the place.
But no, it's just super. It's super Trekky because it was used in parodies later on. I think if I recall, it was like one of the things that Aykroyd as Bones said in SNL. Probably. Does that make sense? That sounds like
because again, the obvious, fucking part of it. That would make sense.
Oh yeah, and the sex, and the
spanking,
and apparently, and she. Oh, I forget it was before or after, but Shatner and France, they were both in Broadway together from '58 until '60.
Oh, sorry, Shatner and the Vietnamese actress.
Yeah,
they were Broadway together.
Yeah, and it's weird because in my mind, I think I was confusing her with another French star. Because I looked back and I thought she had an extensive French catalog, but what I was surprised by it's mostly fucking American. She came over and she was doing tons of movies and television as of pretty early on. She was in soaps and stuff. So yeah, she had a good.
Yeah, well, this brings up a Rusi supposition.
Okay.
If you'll.
I mean, within reason, but go on.
It seems that it seems like in that era there was a bit of a fetish or a vogue in vogue to have these a few choice foreigners or exotic actors sort of be in Hollywood, because there was I guess Ingrid Bergman from Sweden. There was that Italian Sophia Loren. There was a bunch of people who were from the continent or from abroad, and I'm just wondering if there was a little mini peak in diversity in Hollywood because they were just into it.
In and around that area, you mean, or
do you think they're just looking for when was this every show needs at least one foreigner to show up once just to be classy and cool?
No. I don't think that.
We need these actresses in case we have to go to an exotic location type of thing.
I mean,
I think. So wait, she was French Vietnamese, is that right?
Yeah.
And this was her first appearance in anything?
The first
American appearance.
I mean, if I look back, she was on other stuff, but according to the Star Trek specific IMDb, that is apparently her first appearance on American television. And I guess prior to that, she was prior to that it must have been movies, I guess. Anyway,
probably.
But anyway, I'm just suggesting that.
I mean, I assume, but I could be wrong about that. Yeah.
Interesting. But I'm just suggesting that there was a mini peak of interest in foreign cultures from America. In that there's America when they're their sense of hegemony and sort of awesomeness sort of makes it so they don't really care about foreigners except to play villains. But I feel there was earlier eras where they were actually curious, and there was even a time when French actresses or Swedish actresses are all the rage.
Andy Harris in chat mentioned Zsa Zsa Gabor.
That's true.
Yeah. Gabor, yeah. And of course Crocodile Dundee.
Let us not forget
Mick Dundee,
whatever that was.
The 80s actor who somehow was part of that.
but I feel there was a mini peak where I feel there was a mini peak where it was cool to be foreign. It was sort of they didn't.
I mean, it's possible, but it never really. I think it's more a thing of
I think
Hollywood tries to use whatever diversity it can. Yeah, exactly. Foreigners who came to Hollywood to make
game of counts and countesses and a con festival and whatnot. So I think there were a lot of rich foreigners that were part of that crowd. Yeah,
and I'm sure and I'm also sure that just that Americans saw some sophistication from different countries, and some
well, they saw business, right? Business interests, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, even today, if you look at all the top tier actors, there are token people from Antonio Banderas and there are token people. But in terms of
you're right about Montalban.
International than we are now. I think back then it was just a niche thing, and now it's just a normal everyday thing.
Yeah.
I would have to like do like a deep mathematical study.
Well, for starters, half the actors we see
or
on TV
like
are British. Like what do you want?
What's that?
Like half the actors we
It's
see
true,
on TV
yeah.
are British. Like Netflix is
okay,
is
but
doing
British is
international
British.
movies all over the place. We're watching Swedish stuff or French stuff. Lupin recently, right?
Ooh, is it good?
Yeah, it's good. Watch Lupin for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, actually, I watched Lupin too. Phil, we're on the same wavelength here.
Yeah. One more side.
No, you're true. Actually, you're right, Phil. That like, okay, fine. So the Hollywood thing, I think
it was like there's like a small group of foreigners that were allowed in Hollywood, and it was niche and cool, and now it's just a general thing, and therefore no longer cool.
No, I disagree. I think there was like a mini peak where it was not just sort of like a few people allowed. I think that there was like a disproportionate decent number in the top, like as in like A-listers. No. Yeah, I'm talking about A-listers, Phil.
No,
I'm talking about A-listers. No. Like there were A-listers who were foreign. Now, who are the A-listers who are foreign? Well,
what do you
I
mean
guess
by
Jaja
foreign from America, like foreign from America.
Yeah, like Ingrid Bergman and people like that.
But you're talking about Hollywood over a course of this anyway.
Like, what do you mean?
I'm talking about it over a long period, but I'm just saying there seem to be like more like A-listers who are foreign, and like then, but I agree that now that there's like Netflix, and we're getting all this.
I wish I had more time to disagree with you further, but I don't because I have to pee. But this is a good argument for another day.
Okay, that's
over there.
I'm sorry, you have no idea.
Right,
it's super bad.
In the future, a bucket or
I know
soda pop cans like for emergency.
Way the road, Bubs. Way the road.
Oh wait, hold on. We should all say goodbye to Andy because Andy's watching.
Yeah.
All right, nice work, Andy. Do we wave? I don't know how this works.
All right.
Deactivation sound. All right, now I gotta be.